everybody, I'm Elizabeth Hines from ourpaleofamily.com, and 1 week from tomorrow is the Super Bowl, so I thought I would show you how to make my Super Simple Teriyaki Wings, and that's exactly what they're called. If you go to my blog, ourpaleofamily.com, you can even type wings into the search bar and you'll get the Super Simple Teriyaki Wings. And I have a book actually called Your Paleo Holiday. You can download it from my website. It's on Amazon and it's on iTunes. And there are, the wings recipe is in there. There's a variation for a hot wing and a whole bunch of other appetizer recipes that would be great for the Super Bowl. So today I'm going to show you how to make the wings in the Instant Pot, which to be perfectly honest, I haven't done yet. The recipe as it's written is for putting the wings in the crock pot for a few hours and then crisp them up in the oven. And the reason I do the crock pot step is I don't really like wings, or I never liked wings before because they were fatty and just all that skin. I thought it was disgusting. So I thought, what if I rendered all that out? So I put them in the crock pot for about 4 hours, and then in the oven to broil, and then tossed them in the sauce, and they were so good. I loved them. So I'm going to try to speed up the process by using my Instant Pot. So all I have to do to start is pour some water in. This is about a half a cup. You really just need enough water to cover the bottom of the pot. And then I'm going to put the little tray, whatever they call this, trivet tray thing in there, so it'll make it easier for me to lift my wings out. I have 3 pounds of wings, and I'm just going to look them over really fast because wings, for whatever reason, tend to have feathers attached to them. I don't buy any other cut of meat that ever has, or cut of chicken that has feathers on it, but the wings almost always do, which is really odd. Like there's some right there. So I'm actually going to get my washcloth, or else they'll just be stuck to my fingers. So I'm going to clean them real fast and I'm going to get them going. And one thing that I have noticed when I have made wings in my crock pot is that I get a lot of really yummy gelatinous broth. And it doesn't have a super amount of flavor because my purpose here is not making broth. So I'm not putting an onion and celery and carrots in there. But you can take that broth that's going to cook out of these wings and add it to some other homemade bone broth that you have that does have some extra flavoring in it. And it'll be really good. That the gelatin is collagen, and that's really good for your joints. It's really good for your digestive system, for your digestive tract, I should say, the lining. Okay, we just had one little feather. That wasn't too bad. So let me wash my hands before I touch anything else. Okay, so Instant Pot, water, trivet, wings. I just tossed them in there. That's it. And the lid goes on and it sings to us. There we go. Switch the little valve at the top to sealing, and I'm experimenting because I've not seen anybody else's recipe like this. There are some that say to cook wings in the Instant Pot for 10 minutes, but I can tell by looking at the picture of their finished wings that they don't have all the fat rendered out like I like. So I'm going to go for 20 minutes, and we might have to turn it back on, but we're going to start at 20 minutes. I don't want to cook them too long because you don't want your wings to totally fall apart. Then they wouldn't be very fun to eat. So here we go. Hi everybody, so we're back. Our wings have been in for really about 30 minutes. I set my timer for 20. It took close to 10 minutes for it to come up to pressure, and then the time started ticking down. And what you see here is 6, and that means that it's turned itself off. You know, the 20 minutes was up. It's been off for 6 minutes. And I did the quick release after about 3 or 4, and the steam has finished coming out, so we're going to open it up and see if the wings are as done as I want them to be. Remember I said the whole purpose of this step is really to render out almost all of the fat so that they'll be nice and crispy. But, oh, there's a little feather that I missed. But we want them to still be holding together. So these are holding together. And they're okay. I think they're done enough. Honestly, let's see. If they went for 25 minutes in there, they would be okay too. But we're going to go ahead and take them out. So I cooked them on this little trivet thing So some are going to jump overboard, but I'm going to quickly pull most of them out and set them on my plate because I really want to get the broth out of there because I want to make my sauce right in this pot because I don't want to have to get another pot dirty. That's one of the fantastic things about the Instant Pot is it can act like a stove with its saute function. So I'm just going to dump the broth out of here. And put this right back in. And I'm going to put this in the fridge. Pardon my very old Cool Whip bowl. Very old. And I'm going to press the saute button. I think I have to turn it off first. Cancel. And then I'll press saute. And it'll turn this on like a burner. And I'm going to let these just sit for a second while I get all my sauce ingredients in. Again, this recipe is called Super Simple Teriyaki Wings, and it's on my website, ourpaleofamily.com. And in the sauce, I get 1 tablespoon of ghee. Ghee is clarified butter, which just means it's been cooked and the milk solids have been removed. So basically what you have is the pure butter fat, and it is considered to be safe for people who are sensitive to dairy. So if that's you, you just need to experiment and see if that's something you're okay with. And then I need 2 tablespoons of coconut aminos, which coconut aminos is our soy sauce substitute. It's made from coconut instead of soy. Soy is a legume and they're pretty inflammatory, so we don't eat those on the paleo diet. So 2 tablespoons of that. And this is actually the juice of 2 oranges. It's about a half a cup. I juiced my orange. It was not very juicy, so I did another one. I zested it and I juiced it, and then I threw the pulp in too. So that's about a half a cup of zest and juice and pulp from a real orange. And I need 1/4 teaspoon of fish sauce, which is really smelly, but it adds great flavor. Close that up. And 1/4 teaspoon of garlic salt and 1/4 teaspoon, half a teaspoon garlic salt and 1/2 teaspoon of ground ginger. So I'm going to do my ginger first because I don't care if I have a little bit of ginger in my garlic salt, but I don't want garlic in my ginger. And we'll just give that a little stir around and let that cook. And keep an eye on it because it'll reduce pretty fast. We want a nice sticky sauce, but it will kind of boil down to nothing if you're not careful. So this will probably take about 5 minutes to get it where we want it. And in the meantime, I'll get the rest of my wings laid out on my tray. I just have a baking tray. Let me move this out of the way. This is called a half sheet pan, and I lined it with foil and then like a cooling rack so that the wings are elevated and they can get crispy on both sides. And yes, these are hot, but it's just so much easier to work with your hands, I think, than using tongs. So if I can stand it, I'm going to use my hands. And I'm going to I have my oven on 425 because I'm cooking some potatoes in there. So I think my recipe says to broil these for 10 minutes. No, it doesn't. It says to bake at 475. So that's okay. My potatoes can cook at 475 instead of 425. So I'm going to turn my oven up, and then when it gets up to 475, I want to put these in. And I'm trying to lay them so they're not touching each other, but it's okay. It's just if they're touching, they're not going to get crispy right there where they're touching. So I'm going to try to give everybody their space. All right, so I'm going to turn my oven up and put those in to bake for 10 minutes. It's just taken a couple minutes. This has been only boiling for about 2 minutes, and it's almost as reduced as I want it to be. Can you even see it in there with all the steam? So I'm only going to let it go for a few more seconds, and I'm going to turn it off because it'll stay hot in this pot. I'm actually going to put my wings back in here to toss them with the sauce once I have crisped them up, and it is good. I don't want it to reduce anymore, so I'm going to turn it off. Forgetting this hot pad is wet. Okay, so my wings have been in the oven for 10 minutes, and I'm going to flip them over. You can see, hopefully, they're a little bit browned on the one side, so I'm going to flip them, and that'll help them get browned on the other side. And my recipe says 10 minutes on one side, then flip, then 10 minutes on the other side. But if they are not quite done, there's another feather. If they're not quite crispy enough for you, leave them in there for a few more minutes. Take a look at them. You're in charge of your food. Just because someone wrote a recipe one way doesn't mean that your oven doesn't work differently. We're not at high altitude, so that should not be a factor, but maybe you are at high altitude. So you need to keep the conditions in your own house and with your oven in mind when you're following a recipe. Let's see. I can tell by the way they look which ones I have and which ones I have not flipped. They're a little dried out looking, and then the side that was on the bottom still looks really moist. Okay, so back in the oven these go. I'm going to set my timer for 10 minutes, but honestly, I think I'm going to want them in there for a few minutes longer than that. Oh, this is heavy. Okay, so my wings have been in for 20 minutes, 10 minutes on each side, and I really want them a little crispier than this. So I'm going to give everybody a flip back over to the first side. My oven is still at 475, and I'm going to put them back in there for probably 10 more minutes because I just want them crispier. See, that's kind of flabby skin. Ugh, I don't like that. Some people like that, but I don't like that. They're not going to get overcooked. Wings are like thighs. They're really, I don't know the word, hardy maybe. It's kind of hard to overcook them. I really want them crispy before we give them a little bath in their sauce. Okay, so back they go. Okay, so my wings have been in for another 10 minutes, and I think they're good. They're getting, a couple places have like a little charred spot, which is actually awesome. That's really good. So I wouldn't have wanted to leave them in there too much longer, but they're just right. And it had been 30 minutes in the oven, so in that time, my pot got cold and my sauce correspondingly got cold. So I just turned it back on so my sauce would heat up. Of course, my wings are really hot, but I'm just going to somewhat gently place these in. And they're really cooked well because I'm grabbing them and I can tell that the skin is firm, it's not flabby, which is just what I want. So my teriyaki sauce, remember, is orange juice based. So this is totally acceptable if you're doing a Whole30, some sort of sugar detox, or obviously it's totally paleo. I'm going to put, okay, now it's back on. I can hear it sizzling, so I'm going to unplug it because I don't want it to get too hot. I'm going to just gently toss these in here in this sauce. And then my husband and I, we like these teriyaki ones, but I really kind of like a hot sauce wing, which surprised me. But I found Frank's Red Hot sauce, which is pure ingredients, basically vinegar and cayenne peppers, and I'm sure salt. And I heat that up with some butter, just a little bit of butter. I have a pair of tongs. And it's really good. The butter keeps it from being too hot. And so we'll just put these right in here. Let's see if I can be like a professional and toss these around without throwing them all over the kitchen. Ready? Woo! Watch out, cameraman. Okay, that looks like a hot wing, doesn't it? And we're serving these with some celery and carrots. This is my homemade ranch dip that is made with my homemade mayonnaise, a little coconut milk, and some fresh herbs. Light and refreshing. You want to try a wing? So I have my assistant. You want a flat one or a drumette one?
Drumette.
Okay, they're hot. So set it right there. Blow on it for a minute. Don't get your hair in them. Hair wings wouldn't be good.
You think I can taste it now?
Just a second, let me get all the rest of this yummy sauce. Here's the teriyaki. These are our traditional buffalo. Okay, taste away.
Still hot.
Still hot?
But I know it's good.
Okay, let me do it.
Yeah, it's hot. Hot, right?
Mm. But now that I opened it up, you can probably try it.
Still hot. Mmm.